We're here at CES 2023 and we're in Acer's booth right now to have a look at their laptops. We've got heaps of them. We've got some Predator gaming laptops, super fast. We've got some thin and lights, not fast, but not heavy either. But the one that I'm most interested in is somewhere in between. And huge thanks to Acer for sponsoring this video. This is the Acer Swift X14 and it looks frigging sweet. Now, what is interesting about this is that so many companies have big honkin' laptops, 15-inch, loads of power, and then maybe like a 14, 13 that are very thin, but they don't have something in the middle that's really good. This though looks sweet. First of all, they haven't screwed up the I/O. They have, first of all, a headphone jack. Wow, who would have thought that's something that you'd want on a laptop? Dell. We also have two Thunderbolt 4s, USB Type-A, and full-size HDMI. Confirm it's HDMI 2.1. Good job. Around the other side, we also have a USB Type-A and a micro SD card slot. I do wish it was full-size, but we'll take what we can get. The best thing about this, though, is that despite it being this large, it has an RTX 4050 or a 3050, depending on what you want. This is looking like it could be the perfect laptop for content creators and casual gamers because you've got that OLED display that is color accurate and full DCI-P3, as well as the 120 Hertz super low response times because again, it's an OLED. I'm sure you're not gonna be able to drive that full resolution with a 4050 or a 3050, but at the same time, just knock it down a bit. It'll be fine. You don't need to game at the full resolution of this thing. What is normally a really large problem with laptops like this though is the config. They'll be like the model that you want, which is this spec, and then the lowest spec will be like an i5 with no dedicated GPU, so you might as well have just gotten the smaller, not as expensive one. What I absolutely love about this, now at least, is that the starting config is awesome. A lot of the times they'll be like, oh, we have this super powerful laptop that's a little bit thicker and so on. So the base spec for this in North America is the OLED display, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, an RTX 3050, and you get all of that for $1,200. That is fantastic. And I cannot wait to just, properly test this thing out. Oh, one thing that I forgot, trackpad seems really good. It's one of those ones where from the factory, you get a little bit of, it kind of sticks. Just a tiny bit. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there we go. A little bit of sticking. But once you get some hand grease on there, now it slides so good. We'll get back to these guys later. Intel Evo certified, fantastic. Up next, we have the Predator Helios 18, and this thing is an absolute beast. Although my favorite thing on first glance is that it doesn't look as beastly as it did in the past. So the idea of this is a lot more professional looking. You still have like some lights on the back here. It's a little bit fancy, but it's not the sort of thing that is embarrassing to take to like a business meeting. You can just turn this off. No one knows that you have an RTX 4080 in it. Ugh. As I'm sure you can tell by the thickness of this boy, there is a lot of power. So that 4080 is up to 165 watts. Now, why there's no 4090, because that's the same TDP as that, I don't know. Acer also doesn't seem to know, but there isn't. For the CPU, we have Intel's 13th gen 13900HX, and this thing is obscene. There are 32 threads in this laptop. That's what, 8 performance cores, 16 efficiency cores? How did they do that? Well, this little guy right here, this Zalman flower cooler looking fan actually has a bunch of little metal fins, and they've done a ton of very interesting things. First thing that I really appreciate, when you turn this laptop on, the fans for a little bit will go full blast in reverse. That gets all of the dust out, hopefully. Also, if you look at the way that these fins are made, it's really interesting. So they're intentionally creating turbulence in here because normally you have a little area, sort of like the eye of the storm, where there's no airflow right in the center. By creating turbulence instead, well, there's airflow there. You can see these tiny little notches on the end. That's how they do that. Even though these fans do look pretty cool, you aren't going to be able to see them very much because they don't have that cool glass panel up at top. What you will be looking at though is this display, and it is fantastic. Here we have an 8.3-inch mini LED display, which gets up to 1000 nits peak brightness, and while it does that, it does it at 250 hertz. I had to ask them like 3 times if that was right. It's not 240, not like 150 or anything, 250 hertz. I don't know why, but that's what it is. Resolution also is 2560 by 1600, so that's 16 by 10 on a laptop like this, which means that if you want to do professional work like video editing, this will be an absolute monster for that. But if the $1,700 price tag of this just to get in the door is not what you want, well, we have the Nitro. We took too long in the booth and got kicked out, but we have a nice comfortable couch now, which is fantastic. And also, we have this Acer Nitro. Now with this guy, you don't get the fancy mini LED panels. It tops out 165 hertz, but also like 165 hertz is good enough for most people. And I really appreciate how, again, it doesn't look like gamer vomit. They have a new logo here, and instead of like big red lights all over it, it's just these simple little accents that look just very cool. But what if you don't want a game at all? Well, the Swift lineup has a bunch of new ones. Now, the biggest upgrade this year for all of the Swift lineup is that you have the option of OLED displays. Now, one thing that they haven't told me is how much of a hit to battery life the OLED display will be, but at least this isn't a 4K panel. This right here is 2560 by 1600, which should be at least a couple less pixels for you to be going for, unless of course you get the 16-inch. Then you have 3200 by 2000. The main difference between the Swift Go and the Swift is the construction. So the Swift Go is stamped aluminum, and it's like, actually that still is quite well built. Is it? Oh, there we go. Yeah, it doesn't have quite the same level of rigidity as the Swift, which has a CNC'd aluminum chassis. That is, oh yeah, there we go. This really shows the difference that a chassis can make. So on the Swift Go, even though I'm almost certain that it's the same switches as on the Swift X, the keyboard goes from like an A plus to maybe like A minus, B plus, somewhere in there. It's still very usable, but it doesn't have the crispiness because you do have that chassis flex. Moving over to the Swift though, oh, this one I think has different switches, and they are by far the best of the bunch. This is like an A, maybe even an A plus. Also, this is absolutely shocking, but on a thin and light laptop, they have good I/O. Who would have thought of it? So we have USB Type A, full-size HDMI, and 2 Thunderbolt ports over here. And then around on the other side, we have another Type A and a headphone jack. Love to see it. We also have really fancy diamond cut edges on the side here, and I just like the look of this thing. What do you think, Andy? Does it look good on camera? Yes. Both of these laptops are Intel Evo certified, and these ones have the Intel i7 13700H. That has 6 performance cores, 8 efficiency cores, and that's a lot of cores for a laptop of this. Look at the size of this. How do they fit that many cores into here? As long as you don't need a discrete graphics card, that thing is going to absolutely rip. It also comes with Intel Unison, which allows you to sort of pair your phone, easily transfer files, and like receive messages to your laptop. I haven't tested it out yet, but Anthony is this week, so get subscribed to check that out. I don't remember if I mentioned it before, but the Swift X14 also comes with a 76 watt-hour battery. That is very impressive for a laptop of this size. Anyway, huge thanks to Acer for sponsoring this video. If you want to check out any of this stuff, look at the links down in the description. And also, huge thanks to Acer for lunch that I'm about to have. Huge thanks for watching this video. Hit like, get subscribed, and if you're looking for something else to watch after this, maybe check out our tea-cooled PC. It's a PC that has actual tea inside of it. Have a good day.